We're going to head into our master classes now, and our master class in this room, session 1, registered, running, and current, learn the ins and outs of getting your organization formalized and compliant, and that one will be moderated by Dr. Stephen Johnson, lecturer at Salises at the University of the West Indies Mona campus, and of course the trailblazers assisting him, Denicia Roden, and we'll also have Janine Shepard. We'll also have resource panelist Jacqueline Allen, who is the development and registration manager at the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies, and Yolande Rowe, Fender Data Protection Officer at the company's Office of Jamaica. So those of you in that session remain here. We ask, however, those of you who are in the exciting session looking at growing your clients' digital footprint and goodwill using social media, and that one will be led by Shamar Wedderburn, and you see him there waving in the blue jacket, going in the room right beside the JSIF sign. And of course, in that session, ladies and gentlemen, is Kalila Reynolds, CEO of Kalila Reynolds Media, and also Michael Morgan, a prompt engineer and strategist. So you definitely, for those of you who are assigned to that session, want to make your way so we can get that started. And the session in room 3 is Jobs and Enterprises of the Future. Get yourself, your networks, and your clients ready for the future of work. And that session will be moderated by one of our panelists, one of her co-hosts, Christina Williams, President of the Human Rights Council at the Norman Manley Law School. And our youth trailblazers who will be engaged in this one, Adrian Watson, Ecotech entrepreneur, and Matthew Stone, CEO of Stone Technologies Limited. So for those of you assigned to Session 1, if you are here, you are in the right place. If you are assigned to any other session, make your way to your session, please. For those of you online as well, by now you know how to do it, so you are gonna look for your various breakout rooms and go ahead and click on the request, enter your breakout session, and we will get those started in a moment. So we ask kindly that you make your way to your master classes. Only those in session 1 should be in this very room at this time. And for those of us who might have missed what's assigned, so session 1 is registered, running, and current. Learn the ins and outs of getting your organization formalized. That's session 1. If you are assigned to that workshop, that masterclass, you ought to be in here. For masterclass 2, grow your clients' digital footprint and goodwill with Kalila Reynolds, Shamar Wedderburn. That's in room 2, and that is the room. You use the JSIF sign as your marker. You're gonna go through that door there. And our final session, masterclass 3, is Jobs and Enterprises of the Future, and that is in room 3, which you will mark by the Positive Organization pull-up banner as well as the PIOJ's booth. You're gonna go on into that room. So kindly make your way as I invite our youth trailblazers who will be moderating these sessions to get into place, and we head straight into sharing the gems for these sessions. 1 minute. So going for the other mic. Good?
Yeah.
So you need 3 mics. You need 4 mics.
Yeah.
Or at least 3. Good afternoon, everyone. Attention, attention, attention. Okay, so I have been blessed with the lovely task of keeping you alive, keeping you awake after lunch. So I will try my best. I am Stephen Johnson, and it was rather ironic. I was asked to moderate a session with youth when I am old as Methuselah. According to UN's definition, the UNDP definition of youth is 15 to 24. So the oldest youth by this definition would be born in 1999. And during that time, we will be using Walkmans. Anybody know what that is?
Yes.
Cassettes?
Yes.
Floppy disk?
Yes.
All right, we're on the same page. All right, so just allow me to introduce the panel here. So to my right, we have Miss Jacqueline Allen, who is the Development and Registration Manager. You could just raise your hand. Of the Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. And we have Miss Yolanda Rowe Fender, Data Protection Officer at the company's Office of Jamaica. We have Miss Lanisa Roden, founder and managing director of Young Men and Women of Purpose. All right. And then we have Miss Janine Shepherd, who is the founder and president of Youths for Excellence Limited. Now, I have 4 questions each for the panelists, and I will reserve some time as well for you to ask your questions. I will start with Miss Allen. It's okay. All right. Now, Miss Allen, and for those of you who are interested in starting a not-for-profit in Jamaica, you know, we pay keen attention here. Now, who can start a not-for-profit in Jamaica? For example, is there a starting age by law? As well as all the categories of not-for-profits that one can establish in Jamaica.
Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. A not-for-profit organization. Age 16, once you're age 16, you can start. However, the department administers several acts. The Friendly Societies Act and the Charities Act are 2 of the many acts that we administer, and those fall under the not-for-profit organizations. So if you're interested in community-based organization, on the Friendly Societies Act, we have the benevolent societies, which are developed for community-based organizations, and we have the Charities Act, which is not-for-profit also. So it's based on your objectives. Depends on what your objectives are, then that will determine the act that you register under. So if it is a Friendly Societies Act, you have the Benevolent Societies, Community Development, right? And if you want me to share some of the requirements at this time.
Sure, you can go ahead.
Okay, so the requirements for a benevolent society is that you need a minimum of 21 persons to start, yeah? You need also to complete an application form.
Sorry, 21 registered members?
Yes,
okay.
21 registered members to start. You need to complete an application form, registration of agreement. You need also to undertake pre-registration training. This is done in Friendly Societies Principles and Practices. So it's training prior to registering. This is one of the requirements. You need to pay a $2,000 processing fee. You also need to provide us with proof of your registered office location. You need to complete a statement of affairs. And the process will take about 50 days for you to get your package. So once you've submitted all the required documents, and they are processed, and once the registrar is satisfied with all those documents submitted, then you receive your registration package.
How long does it take?
How long? Yeah, I said about 50 days.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. Ms. Rofendel.
Yes, sir.
Who can start a business in Jamaica? Again, for example, they are starting age by law, as well as the online categories of enterprises that can be established in Jamaica.
Okay, so in law, when someone wanted to register a business name, which is a sole trader or a partnership, the age is 18. Now, for a limited liability company, any age person can be a shareholder. If the person is under 16, the parent will have to sign for that minor, and the birth certificate will have to be submitted, because I could go and sign as a guardian for your child. You will have to sign for your child, and I sign for my child. Now, for director, they would have to be over the age of 18, because anyone under 18 cannot contract. So some persons do put a minor on as a director, but in the terms of contracting, you cannot stand in the agreement, right? The types of entities that can be registered at Tokens Office can register a business name, which is a sole trader partnership, or a company incorporating business, or a limited liability company. Those are the 2 different types of entities, enterprises that can be registered or incorporated at the Companies Office of Jamaica.
All right, thank you very much. Lanicia?
Yes.
You're on the floor. What are the common misconceptions held by young people seeking to start an NGO?
So there are a few of them. I'll just highlight four. One of them is the ease of starting an NGO. So there are a lot of persons who they want to do good, and they may think that, oh, I just want to set up an NGO and to start it. But then there are several things that you have to take into consideration when starting an NGO, especially if you want to start one that will be sustainable and create impact. You have to look at, the structure of it, who will work in it, where would you get volunteers. That leads me to the second point, which is to have a sustainable nonprofit, you can't just depend on volunteers. I learned that lesson when I started. I just wanted to give back. So I had my job and I was just giving back. But as we grew and as we started to make impact, got grant funding to do several projects, you realize that if you want to make more impact, you actually need persons who have the time, who are competent in order to grow and sustain the organization. And always think sustainability. Again, we learned this years after, but if you think about sustainability from the beginning, then it will help you in terms of how you will work to grow your organization, and it will make a big difference.
One more question. Why did you make the decision to incorporate young men and women of purpose, and what was your best experience and your worst experience?
Okay. All right. So for me, the story behind Young Women and Men of Purpose, the short version, it started out as a small community service project. And so we were operating the project for a year, but based on the work that was being done and the impact that was created, and also males came to us because it was young women of purpose only, we decided that, we wanted to include males and we wanted to be registered because personally I like structure. So I knew that I could not run this organization by myself and I needed persons to help, and I wanted to also do it in a very transparent manner. And so that was one of the main reasons why we incorporated. The other thing that we learned along the way was that to get grant funding and to partner with government agencies, corporate companies, they're always asking about whether or not you're registered. And so if you are thinking of starting a nonprofit or even a business, if you want to get certain contracts or certain partnerships, then they will ask about your registration, both locally and also internationally. In terms of some of the nuances, so we were registered back in 2010, so this was long before the Charities Act and the updated Companies Office regulation. I had to do everything by myself back then. I had to go to different offices downtown to get it stamped, so I had to do everything. I didn't have any help. The recommendation was to get a lawyer, but of course I couldn't afford a lawyer. And so I'm a person who likes to do research, so it took some time, but I did the work, and so I became familiar with the process and overcame the hurdles to get to where we are now. So I would say those were the main nuances, not being able to get the information and then having to go to so many different places. I know there's difference now where you can do the one registration or the main registration with the Companies Office and then go over to DCFS. So I'm happy that that has been improved.
Thank you very much. Jenny, similar questions. Why did you make the decision to incorporate Youth for Excellence?
So, Youth for Excellence now. Back then, we incorporated back in 2015, even before we started any activities. And 2015, I was a minor, 17-year-old at Campion, trying to figure out what am I going to do with my summer. I was studying for SATs and CAPE at the same time, and I wanted to do some volunteer work in the schooling system. But then I realized that we face several hurdles simply because we're coming in as young people. So in order for a more official presentation, as well as to get support from corporations in terms of what we needed for our first project, that's what actually led me to incorporate. Because then through that process, we were able to solicit 11 corporate sponsors for our very first project, and we raised over $2 million, like in terms of in-kind donations for that first pilot. Because then what we were focused on was, okay, we're coming in as young persons. We want to change up how children are taught, but we realize that a lot of the times a child struggles in a classroom not because, it's not being taught well, but they're coming to school, they're hungry, they haven't had their eyes checked, they don't have anything to even write in or study from, or, they can't even make it to school. So we wanted to be able to recruit different agencies, whether it was, JUTC to get them there, or a Grace, Separate, and Purity to provide food for them and their families, or another partnering agency to do the free health checkups with us. They all wanted to see that documentation, especially because, again, this was a 17-year-old coming to these huge corporations like, hey, give me money. They're like, okay, but why? Show us why we should give it to you. So it was a means of introducing some level of accountability and transparency, but also a way to convey that, hey, we're actually serious about this. This isn't something that's half-baked. We've thought through this and realized that the root causes is actually poverty, which is why we're here today. And this poverty impacts all the other issues that actually impact education. So it's not necessarily the curriculum itself or how the teachers are delivering the information, but oftentimes there's so many other issues. And by doing this quote-unquote bureaucratic process, we were able to then scale up our impact and actually make a difference.
Thank you. And one more. What was your best experience and your worst when you were starting up, when you were going through the process of incorporation?
I'll start with my best was also my worst. So again, when I was starting up back in 2015, I was coming in as a minor. I didn't really understand a lot of these things. Mommy had to sign these documents with me, follow me around to like the tax office, company's office, Department of Cooperatives and Friendly Societies. We were trying to put together the schedules, but fun fact, at 17, you're not a corporate lawyer. So it got rejected, the first application, and they saw that we were just a bunch of high school kids and we were trying so hard. It was me and one bag of campaign people just pack up in the hallway, and then they felt bad, and then company's office was like, you know what, come, let us help you. They were like, come look at these samples, and they actually held our hand through it. So it was a very painful and terrible experience in terms of that initial rejection, but then I learned through that how to fine-tune what exactly our purpose was, what we were trying to do through those schedules. Because when you put together those documents in terms of what your powers are or what you're trying to do, you have to specify what your activities are. So it forces you to kind of niche down and see, where can I actually add value? So by having these conversations with persons who were more experienced, even though, you just want it to go through, it did help you to focus and give you clarity of mission and vision. And by being able to communicate that effectively, we were then able to mobilize other persons around our cause, whether it's persons our own age or older persons with the money, because fun fact, it takes cash to care. So these were all very valuable insights. So I would say that was that was definitely the worst part in terms of, getting together everything. And, as Anistia touched on, can't really afford a corporate lawyer. So those were very terrible things to go through. And then obviously getting the bank account, getting like all the other things that you need to just operate. That was quite stressful. Still is.
Thank you. Back to Ms. Jacqueline Allen. Ms. Allen.
Thank you.
Pardon?
No, sorry, go ahead.
Sure. Well, I have here in less than 1 minute, but I'm going to ask you, take your time to outline the steps, the key steps to setting up a not-for-profit.
Okay, I did mention it for the Friendly Society or the benevolent societies. I'll now do the charity. Poor child. Sorry. Okay, for you to register a charity is another not-for-profit organization, and this is established for public benefit. So if you want to establish a charity, it must be established. The public must be benefiting from whatever you set up to do, okay? So I'll outline the steps. You need a minimum of 2 persons. I know the process can be a little tedious and frustrating. I was mentioned by my friend here. Firstly, if you're registering, if you're going incorporated, you have to go to the Companies Office of Jamaica to first get it incorporated and then apply to us for charitable status. Sure? Right.
That's step one.
That is step one.
Yeah.
So you to submit an application form with the accompanying documents, like it's a $5,000 non-refundable fee that you pay. You submit a plan of charitable activities, operational policies and procedures. You what is it now? Financial statements. If you're registered for over a year, you submit a financial statement. If you're registered within the year, a project proposal. So the amount that you plan to spend during the year, proposed income. That process should take 30 days. After it is, fit and proper questionnaire for each director. So each director is an 8-page document that each director is supposed to complete, along with recent passport size photographs. And they must be certified by a JP or an attorney at law. After we have reviewed to ensure that you have all the required documents in office, they are submitted to TAJ, Tax Administration Jamaica, for further review. They are the ones who determine whether you get an objection or a no objection. So once they review your articles, your objects and powers, and they are satisfied that it is in keeping with the Charities Act, then you will get, they will notify us at the department that you either get no objection or objection, and we will prepare the certificate for you. And the certificate expires within 2 years.
Okay, so you have to go through the steps again?
Yeah.
Or just apply for renewal?
Oh, after 2 years, you apply for renewal.
Okay.
Right.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mrs. Rufindo. Yes. Similar. Outline the key steps to establishing or setting up a limited liability company.
Okay, so for limited, I'm going to do the limited liability as well as the sole proprietorship or partnership.
Sure.
Okay? Alright, so for the limited liability company, you need to complete, there are 3 forms now, before it used to be 2. But since the amendment of the Companies Act, there are now 3 forms that are required to be completed. The articles of incorporation, which is the Form 1A for the company that is limited by shares, or the Form 1B for a company that is limited by guarantee, which is the ones that are going to be applying for charity status or not. So the Form 1B is for companies not for profit, and the 1A for profitable entities. The BRF, which is the business registration form, and all entities that are being registered at the Companies Office are required to use the business registration form. And then there's also the new form, the beneficial ownership return form, the BORA for the company limited by shares, and the BORB for the company limited by guarantee. And these, so all directors, shareholders, members are required to submit identification when they're submitting the documents for incorporation. The cost for incorporation is $27,500. Now, sometimes you may be in a hurry and you can't wait for the 5 days for incorporation. There is a small fee for Express. Next day Express is $3,000. And same day Express is $6,000. Additional $3,000, additional $6,000 for same day or next day Express. But sometimes in a rush. No, for the IDs for our director shareholders. No, for incorporation, you need a minimum of 2 persons. A director, a shareholder, and a secretary. So if it's going to be 1 director shareholder, they need an additional person who is going to be the company secretary. Now for the sole partnership, company that's operating that needs to register business name. Because sometimes there are entities that want to, they're already a company, they want to run another line of business, or they want to have a trade name, then they will register a corporate sole partnership. The BRF form is required by all entities registering. The social practitioner partnership, the IDs for all the partners, all the proprietors, proof of home address, which is the driver's license, the voter's ID, or a utility bill, ready to receive something that's in the very, or there is a voluntary declaration form that can be downloaded from our website, or just such a extensive writing letter. If the business requires license, let's say a hairdresser will need to operate using a salon license or a hairdresser license from the parish council, that has to be submitted. Anything that you need a license to practice, architecture, doctor, pharmacy, those licenses need to be submitted along with the application. The cost per registration, $2,500 for a solo partnership or a partnership of 2 to 5 persons. For partnerships over 6 to 20, that's $5,000. So if somebody wants to register business, $2,500, and then they can upgrade at a later date to a company using the same name. So they just have to close that registration and then do the incorporation. But I'm also going to the business partner. When you're registered, it's not just about registering and then forgetting about it. When you're a company, you're required to file an annual return every year. And for a business name, they're required to review every 3 years. So first will incorporate the company and then forget about it. An annual return is coming every year, and all the beneficial ones return will also be alongside the annual return. But the good thing is that once upon a time, pre-March 31st, they used to get a late for the annual return. They penalty of $100 per year.
10 grand.
The new act, the amended act, did away with that $100 at the end. It's now just a flat $2,000, unfortunately. So, pay less to file your return and make it late. But the downside to that is that, if they take away one penalty, they're going to replace it with something else. Delinquent persons no longer risk of being fined over $5 million. Yes, so we don't make it easier for you. Cheaper for you to file your return, but now you come with more penalties. Right? So sometimes we don't forget it. And you think it's $100 to the $15,000.
Oh, 100 grand.
That reached me, because you had more than one.
That didn't reach me.
Because it reached me. No, I bet you won't have to again.
No, listen. I went to college, right? And like I said, I started when I was a minor. Never know nothing about no annual return filing or nothing like that. When I come back, I get a bill for 100 grand about late fees and fines.
Yeah. No, it's the same. So when we registered back then, when we registered with the company's office, we didn't know that you needed to file. So until we got a call to say, oh, they're coming to, we were in Mandeville at the time, we're coming to Mandeville, they'll have a waiver so you can pay less than, but we had a big bill too because we didn't know. Exactly. And we would have registered from 2010, so that was 5 years off.
So, yes. So persons, sometimes persons register, they incorporate, and then forget about the fact that they should remain compliant. Because I remember speaking to a gentleman, and he said he stays ready, so that he doesn't have to get ready. Because at any moment you may need to get something from a bank, and need to go file the annual returns. Wait for the 5 days to get it approved before you can get that return with standing. Right? And then also when changes are made, they move the registered office, we can't find them. So sometimes persons are operating and they're removed from the registered office just because we couldn't find them. So it's not just to remain compliant, but to file the relevant changes with the company's office. Change your directors, change your shareholders, change your secretary, you move from where you are. Those documents also have to be filed.
Sure, thank you. Quick question. Is there a one-stop location where we can find all this information?
On our website, www.orcpeople.com.
One more time?
www.orcpeople.com. You can also go on our social media pages.
Thank you.
IG, Twitter, anywhere else. Please again.
X.
And for the beneficial ownership information, BO Hub. BOHubJamaica.com.
Thank you.
Sorry, the one-stop shop that you mentioned, are you speaking specifically to COJ or for everything?
Is it there a one-stop shop for all of the...
No, we are working on it. Working on
I
it.
can go to one
to make it easy.
And the application...
And everything is done there, yes. We are working on that. Hopefully soon. We're COJ, TAJ, and DCFS. It'll be under one umbrella.
We're now back to Miss Roden. You're on the floor again. What is your advice for young people? Your advice for how young people can fulfill their legal obligations as registered entities?
So the first is to understand obligations. So today is a good day to get a better understanding of what is required so that you don't fall into, the traps that myself and Janine fell into because we did not know. Because there's a saying, I don't remember it right. Right, it's not an excuse if you don't know. So that's the first thing to understand. So if you are deciding to register your organization, ensure that you do your research on the websites of the different agencies. And I just want to add that it's not just 2 agencies, it's 3. The tax office should be added, right, as another agency that you need to be aware of. And well, maybe Jaipo too, if you want to trademark something. So that would be one. Once you understand the obligation, ensure that you take action because it will cost you not to take action. So set reminders in your phones or if in your emails, in your calendars yearly when you're supposed to do your annual returns with each of the agencies. Because it will be different. If you don't understand it yourself, then get help. And I'm not telling you definitely to go out and get a corporate lawyer because I know that's something that we couldn't afford. But get help from persons who've done it before. I've helped several persons start their nonprofit, do the registration, and so forth. So I'm open to helping any young person who wants to start their nonprofit or social enterprises. And I'm sure there are other persons, who are willing to give advice and to help. And you can also call these agencies. If you call them and you're respectful and you let them know you don't understand. I've had that several times. I call to say, I'm not, I don't understand this. What should I do? And there are some persons who are very kind and who will offer help. So, some.
Sorry, Jenny, anything to add? Is the same question for you?
Basically, I agree with what Lanicia said. I think understanding what the obligations are is the first thing, but then also creating a budget for compliance alone, just like maintaining the company, because you set aside a budget just for filing your annual returns or paying certain outstanding fees or stuff like that you need to do, or you won't need to pay an auditor or an accountant or somebody to look over your documents. So creating that schedule and also meet in person in the offices, right? As you speak about the different agencies, when I think about DCFS, I think about my compliance officer, Tressan Thompson. She has been so helpful. I WhatsApp her, I call her, I balled out the phone, like, Tressan, I don't know what to do. She's like, Janine, relax. And she's like, this is what you need to put together. And I got down to company's office and I balled some more. And they're like, okay, let's see what we can do here. Because I'm looking at all of these fees as a young person, like, where am I forget it from, right? But I mean, for the most part, they're very understanding because, they know that this is what we're going through. So I think having that schedule, like Anicia said, but then also creating a budget specifically just for maintaining the company. That's a huge thing because you create budgets all the time for your projects or, for these things that you want to invest in the company itself, but you often forget to set aside a budget just to maintain the existence of the company. And that was where I went wrong. And it was a very costly mistake. So please use me as an example and don't do that.
All right, thank you.
Can I just add one quick thing? So Janine mentioned financing, and it's very important, whatever money you spend for your organization, ensure that you're keeping the receipts. A lot of receipts will fade, so scan it, use a scanner up on your phone, or if you have a scanner, and just ensure that you create a folder and a file for your receipts. Especially if you're looking for grant funding, it is a requirement to do your reports, your financial reports for your funders, and then when you're doing your returns, as you've heard, you will have to do your financial statements, and this is what you're going to use to do that, so that's important.
Just thought of one more thing. Sorry, just one more thing on that. get yourself an accountability partner, just in terms of to stay on top of the stuff that you need to put together. And by accountability partner, I mean like get yourself a board of directors, because they're now on your board, they're monitoring you. They're going to be like, wait, aren't you supposed to submit like this report to us every quarter? What's going on? Did you file this? Did you file that? I'm not seeing any updates on this. Did you update this? Did you update that? Because then when you have other person's names who are tied to an entity that has to be compliant, they will at least put pressure on you to remind you, hey, was this done? Because we haven't seen it. So if it's a case where you're so bogged down by running the day-to-day business, at least your board will keep you in check. Because they're like, we have not seen this from you. Why is that?
All right, thank you. What's the difference in the type of enterprise, and why should I choose one over the other?
I think I'd discussed that already. Remember, it's pertaining to your objectives. Right. So based on what your objectives are, you'll decide whether it's a charity or it's a benevolent society or a friendly society. Your objectives determine the act that you're registered under. So once it's for public benefit, it's a charity that you're looking at. And once it's for community development, you're looking at a benevolent society. That, remember, that requires 21 minimum persons to start. A charity requires 2 persons minimum. You have at least a director and a company secretary, at least 2. But 1 person must reside overseas if it's more than 2. I'm sorry. No. If the persons are overseas, you must have a person residing in Jamaica locally. 1 person must reside in Jamaica. But I want to encourage you, really. The regulations were recently enforced, and it's no longer objects and powers, ladies. And all of you are thinking of registering a charity. It's no longer just objects and powers that you need. There are some new clauses in the regulations that you need to include in your articles of incorporation. I hope COJ will try to assist you somewhat. But if you go on our website, the information is there. I want to implore you, to encourage you to go on our website, not just to go straight to Companies Office of Jamaica. I'm not sure if they're nice as we are. As she's telling us.
She's going to have the final say.
Okay, so remember, that's the first stop. And once you go there and you're not advised and you include only your objects and powers, at some point in time, you'll have to go back to Companies Office to do amendment of your articles to include these new clauses. And there is a cost. It's not free and it's not a minimal fee. It's a lot of money, right, Miss Yolanda? Right. So please bear these in mind. Another thing that is very important, the word foundation. I know it's a beautiful word. I don't know why. Majority of these organizations, they include foundation in their name. So I'm encouraging you to desist from using the word. Or if you're considering registering a charity, please do not use the word foundation. At some point in time, you will have to do an amendment to do a name change at Companies Office. So please do not use the word foundation in your name.
Thank you very much. And
you're welcome.
The final question from the moderator to Mrs. Rofendo. Oh, somebody said what? Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's a part of the regulations. That's in the regulations. And unless it is self-funded,
okay,
it can be used. So once you submit an application to us with the name foundation and it's not self-funded, meaning you are the families, if you look in the regulation, it is there, it is stated there. Once it is self-funded, but on the application form, there's a provision there that asks for sources of fund. And once you mention donation, contribution, fundraising, all of that, then it's not self-funded. And you're going to be asked to change, to do a name change, just to remove the word foundation. Okay? Going to cost you money. So please bear that in mind. I encourage you again. It's www.dcfs.gov.jm. Please visit our website or call us. As my friend here says, we are very helpful. We try to be as helpful as possible. So please call us before you attempt to register a charity. Okay.
Thank you very much. And final question from the moderator to Mrs. Rofendo from the Companies Office of Jamaica. What's the difference in the type of enterprise and why should I choose one over the other?
Okay, well, one is sole proprietorship. It's you doing business as, in trading, in doing whatever it is that you want to do. So, it therefore means that you are at risk. Your assets are at risk. In the event I come into your store and I slip and I fall, I am going to be suing you because you are the entity. Now, if you want protection, then you go the way of a company. You go the way of a company, you're also looking at succession. You pass your shares on to your peers. For a company, you can't do that for a business name. The entity dies with you. Limited. As I said before, you're protected. If someone wants to sue you, they're going to be suing the company. So you will, if you have a company. So it depends on what it is that you're doing. How much money you have at the time? Because the difference between $2,500 and $27,500 is $25,000. So it depends on how much you have at the time, what it is that you want to do, what your future plans are for growth. Some persons just start from a business name. And sometimes before the year is out, they decide that they need to a company for whatever reason. There are some entities that you have to straight out the bat go the way of a company. Persons who are doing loans under the microfinance legislations, they have to go the way of a company. Banks and if you're doing private security, you're required to go the way of a company. So there are things that persons should familiarize themselves with the relevant acts, the Companies Act, the Business Registration of Business Names Act, because, as Leticia said, ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you need to know what it is that you're getting into, right? If you have a company, it's just that short window away from getting a prospectus and going public, whether on the Junior Stock Exchange or the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So there are things that you should look at to determine what it is that you want to register, how you want to be registered. Because you don't want to know that you're working hard for this entity, you're working hard for this business. God forbid, you drop them dead, that's it. No, the persons who are running around, they can't get the name because you died with the name. And now one of the benefits for registering any at all, you're able to open business bank accounts. You're able to get grants because persons giving you money want to know that you have a registered entity. You are able to provide goodwill. So secure your goodwill. You have this name operating in. You're not registering it. You didn't register it. And you know, regular people in Jamaica, see something good going on for you, they look and say, oh, that you're not registered, it's so nice, and they run and go register it. It's a first come, first serve. Whomever came to us first will get that name. So you have to be able to protect the business, the goodwill that you have garnered, created in your business.
Thank you. Janine?
And for charity. For charity?
Yeah, like why you're registering.
And then yes, so it depends on what you register as. But if you're registering a company, whether you do a non-profit, because if it's a non-profit, it's really not for profit, and then you register accordingly. I've seen persons register a business name doing non-profit work, but it doesn't benefit them, does it? No. They still have to be paying taxes if you do a business name, as opposed to a company limited, I guarantee.
All right, thank you very much. quite a comprehensive discussion. We'll just take one question from the audience. One, real quick. Anybody? Any questions? All right, quite a comprehensive discussion there. All right, thank you very much to our panelists. Could you give them a round of applause, please? Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the audience for staying. We're going to now move to the next section. Thank you.
Anybody have any giveaways to give? Because I don't have any. Oh, you have any giveaways?
Yeah. So, ask a question real quick.
What are the two different types of entities that you can register for the Office of Jamaica? Oi!
His hand went up first, so the guy in the white shirt.
Who's he? Which one? That one?
Yeah.
I think he's the same. There's two types of companies you can register. No, you're supposed to hear my question.
I believe both of them would have been sole proprietorship and partnership.
No. Business and the other guy over there, so. I think it. Oh. Is the company limited or a corporation? No. You only get half. That is full answer.
It's a sole proprietorship and a limited liability company.
Well, you get half. Well, it's a business name which includes a sole proprietorship and a business name. You're welcome.
Okay. Can you name me three supporting documents to be submitted with a charity's application? 3 documents to be submitted when applying for a charity.
Try it, no?
Are you guys okay? So you have the plan of activities, the policies or procedures, and the financial statement or the project proposal.
Very good, very good. Yeah, she's taking notes.
One more from
Me? Oh.
you want to do that?
Okay. Okay, so our question is, can you tell us 2 benefits of registering your nonprofit organization?
Access to loan and grants and tax write-off.
Well, correct. Correct.
Yay!